3D platformers are among my favorite video game genres, but because our family didn't have any big consoles in my childhood, I missed out on a majority of the worship classics from the late 90s and early 2000s. Sure, I had Rayman and Psychonauts, but most of them were mediocre trivial. In my case, A Bug's Life, Tonic Trouble, Gex, Enter the Gecko, Croc 2 and Gift, most of which I've given away a long time ago. By the way, if you want to buy my copy of Croc 2, hit me in the DMs. So, when a humble indie project swimming in Kickstarter money was promising to revitalize the genre, and when all of YouTube's platformer experts from Nitro Dudes to Antrats were giving its high praises, it was only natural that I had to experience something like that as well. So here's celebrating the 5th anniversary of A Hat in Time.
This is the debut creative leading project from its creator/writer/level designer Jonas Karlev, who has most recently designed and produced a mellower 3D platformer Here Comes Nico! The game's release of 2017 meant it had to face some tough competition, not only from another Kickstarter-funded project Yooka-Laylee, but also from a AAA title Super Mario Odyssey, and outside of 3D platformers from another indie juggernaut Cuphead. I think this game managed to stand up against them, but there seems to be conflicting stories from the reviewers. Some gushing for its success, while others lament it as a sadly overlooked title. Well, the game sold like 1 million copies during its first year and who knows how much more afterwards, so make what you will out of that. But let's get into this self-proclaimed cute as heck platformer, where we meet our main character Hat Kid, played by Afia Yu, who is a maybe extraterrestrial cheerful lass traveling from somewhere to home. It's never specified. What however is important is that a member of Kook Mafia from the nearby planet wants to collect toll from all passing ships, including those in space, but when she refuses he breaks the window so both of them, including the faulty hourglasses used as the ship's fuel, drop all around the surface. If you have such questions like how they can breathe in space, why there was a door in the window, and how Hat Kid doesn't burn to crisp when entering the planet's atmosphere even though she can suffer from falling damage for the rest of the game, it's just best to ignore them.
Hat Kid doesn't have any dialogue, by the way, she only makes occasional noises and catchphrases. In the past, I've berated silent protagonists, but with her case I'm willing to give in a little bit. I mean, she is on a foreign planet, so maybe she's able to understand their language, just not form full sentences with it, kinda like me with Swedish. But also her versatile faces and funny vocals make her a cute as heck player character for a cute as heck platformer.
So Hat Kid ends up in the game's first chapter, Mafia Town, and there she encounters another fellow Mafia scorn-bearer, Master's Girl, played by Eileen Montgomery, whose two extreme methods when it comes to bringing justice to bad guys makes Hat Kid wary of her new best friend candidate. Miss Montgomery's acting has been one of the more criticized from the cast, and yeah, well, technically following the game's tonal style, I think the performance could have been more childlike to fit the character better. Anyway, the first 4 levels or acts that all take place in Mafia Town already introduce some of the recurring gameplay elements, like pawns that are this game's currency that can, for example, buy you life-easing badges from this eternally mysterious shopkeeper. Added to those and the level opening hourglasses, the other super important items are yarn balls that allow Hat Kid to make new hats with special properties like extra speed and explosive potion brewing, just to name some from the beginning. Though, like in many other games of its ilk, it's possible to buy all the game stores empty before half point has been reached, but that depends on the order of level completion and how early you want to challenge the final boss, as getting there requires only 25 hourglasses.
These mechanics reveal that the game is more accurately an homage to a specific subgenre, collectathon. In its heyday, represented such games like Super Mario Games 64 and Sunshine, Banjo-Kazooie and its sequel Banjo-Tooie, and the original Spyro the Dragon trilogy, where you have to, well, collect a bunch of stuff in order to get to places. This structures tend to be more freeform, which means that after the Mafia Town arc has been completed, culminating to that world's final boss, the game suddenly forgets that it was supposed to have a plot.
Whereas the first chapter was going through a decent-sized playbox, the 3 other ones do bring much more variety and imagination in their scenarios. First there's the often-cited highlight of the bunch, Battle of the Birds, where 2 rivaling movie makers, an old-school western glamouring conductor and glamour-obsessed DJ Grooves, played by Xander Mobus and Anthony Sardina respectively, are hiring Hatgirl to star in their projects, including a murder mystery and a lavish parade, which is one of the hardest levels due to all that junk on the screen at the same time, though my laptop's poor handling process didn't help matters. Especially the murder mystery also highlights the game's excellent comedic writing, and the performance of Mr. Mobus is one of the more rounded ones. Up next is perhaps the most atmospheric of the bunch, the cursed spirit-filled Subcon Forest, that is ruled by the absolute high point of the Gas Snatcher, played by Luke Sizemore, who in surprise turn provides energetic and entertaining play as the contract-loving maid.
I found one of them on hunting someplace. You can keep it, but this is the only time I'll reward you for completing parts of the contract. Because guess what? I'm not legally obligated to.
Quite impressive from a guy whose previous work I'd see was saying Ola in a Brutal Moose video. And Subcon Forest threatening our isn't just for show, as it features the obligatory horror level in a kid-friendly game in the form of Queen Vanessa's Manor. My heart hasn't raced that badly in a video game before, Jesus Christ.
The 4th chapter is Alpine Skyline that has barely any narrative elements, only nomads and a goat yak chilling, and it mainly focuses on platforming challenges in this sometimes trippy mountain area, just like in equally trippy time drift levels that highlight the stellar level design. So those are all the worlds the base game has, plus the 5th chapter at the very end, but despite not having as much to collect as in some of its paragons, the game doesn't feel too short. It has exactly enough stuff for this journey through 3D platformer highlight reel. Yeah, as much as this game is an homage to that genre, it's also a pastiche. Sure, not to the extent I've heard Ukulele Code, but these chapters feel more like separate vignettes and not really connected with each other. This could be fixed with either some levels could be seen from a distance, or have characters from other worlds visit them in more capacity than just 1 or 2 recurring enemy types, but from what I've seen, at least the latter has been addressed in the downloadable expansions.
But that's just nitpicky on a grander scale of things, because, well, I'm sure you've taken notice on the vivid visuals, and also the soundtrack that tries to emulate Banjo-Kazooie alumni Grant Kirkhope's discography, who, by the way, composed the spaceship music, does a good job in conveying this odd sense of nostalgia. But the 3D platformer is either made or broken by its controls, and they have been successfully modernized, even though sometimes indie budget can be quite obvious.
Hadkit, while in addition to attacking with Sonic the Hedgehog's air dash and smacking with an umbrella, though laser shooting version is available, can also do some smooth tricks from wall to double jumps, dash in air and such. There has been debate on do some of these moves undermine the level design when you can sequence break with relative ease, but I think that depends on if it brings you into good flow, and I think the game does, though levels do take these moves into account in their architecture, especially in the platforming heavy time drift changes. Even with all their impressive technical work, however, the developers haven't fully managed to solve the genre's eternity problem camera. Most of the time it functions as intended, but too close to a wall or a corner, and it has no idea what to do with itself, which led to many unnecessary deaths. That may have also been because the moving has tendency to go in wrong angles, which makes me theorize that this was calibrated more towards controller, and because occasional frame rate drops and stops messed with my timing, but I blame that on my inferior hardware, so I won't take points because of it.
There are a few bugs here and there that persist on even on the game's final updates, like that one in Mafia Town where you can glitch through a wall and then you have to wait for drowning death in order to reset it all. But those are very rare and don't ruin the experience. And what a delightful experience A Hat in Time is.
This is a passion project with capital P. Few technical shortcomings in camera and control can be easily forgiven with its imaginative, enchanting and detail-filled environments that may not be rich in textures but certainly rich in personality, sympathetic soundtrack and the writing that provides plenty of wit and memorable cast of characters. Admittedly, it may lean on platforming nomading a bit too much, both with its thin overarching story and on the gameplay side its lack of enemy variation and amount, but I suppose it could be a deliberate design choice in order to serve as an archetype gateway to 3D platformers. Charming and forever youthful, A Hat in Time works both for genre newcomers and for its main target audience, namely those who were children 30 years ago.
If you still feel that the game lacks in length, no worries, because it received 2 downloadable expansions in the following 2 years, Seal the DL and Yakuza Metro, that both feature a new chapter, an Arctic cruise ship filled with seals, and an underground urban area with a cat Yakuza that Hatkid has to work for respectively, and a bunch of multiplayer stuff and tough challenges. But I only tried few acts from them. They seemed alright enough. So, wait. Mafia is not okay, but Yakuza is okay. So, is crime cool or not? Make up your minds, devs.